Hello, my name is Pastor Joe Cowell, and this is today's video devotional. Many of you have heard the definition of insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. In the Bible, we could see sometimes that faith could be considered insanity to this world. Why could faith be considered insanity to this world? Because when we look at the life of Job, Job continued to do what he had always done, and yet all of these bad things were happening to him. All these catastrophes. His kids were killed. He lost all of his worldly possessions, his earthly possessions. It even got so bad to a point where his friends came along and tried to encourage him, and they ended up just piling more coals on top of Job's head. But there's one thing that Job kept on doing over and over again, and that was being holy and faithful to God. God said himself in that book, Job, that in all this Job did not sin because he held on and continued to do what he was called to do. I'm not telling you today to continue doing what you've always done and expect a different result. But I am telling you that the Word of God tells us to continue on. Do not grow weary in well-doing. God has called us to continue to do good, to be faithful to Him. Faithfulness can sometimes be considered insanity by the world, but we know that God has called us as His people to be faithful to Him. When I was in Sunday school as a child, about 8 or 9 years old, I had the opportunity to go to class, and I was the only person in that class in a small church in Memphis, Tennessee. And there was one older couple that came. When I say older, they were in their late 50s, and they came every week and had a lesson prepared, had games prepared, brought donuts and snacks. I was the only kid in that classroom, and yet they poured into my life for over 2 years, week after week. They never missed a week. I never missed a week. And they considered me that I was the most important thing in their whole world, and they poured into me. They did the same thing over and over, week after week. And yet here I stand today as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I ask you the question, where would I be today if it hadn't been for the faithfulness of that couple, the faithfulness of God's people? Don't consider faithfulness insanity today, but consider doing the things of the world as insanity. But the things of God, God calls us. Some things will never change. He wants us to read His Word. He wants us to pray. He wants us to seek His face. Those things will never change. But how we go about implementing things in our life, those can change. Methods change, but God's principles always stay the same. Be faithful to God today, even though the world might consider it insanity. Do what God has called you to do, and go wholly and wholeheartedly towards Him today with everything that is within you. Be blessed today.